I moved to a new high school in the 90s when my mom got a job transfer. It wasn't exactly a happy move. My mom wasn't the most stable person, and our relationship was rocky at best. She'd often take out her frustrations on me, and home felt more like a battlefield than a safe haven. But I tried to stay optimistic about the school change, thinking maybe this would be my fresh start. That optimism lasted exactly 3 days. That's when I first encountered him. This rich kid who'd apparently made it his life's mission to terrorize anyone he deemed worthy of his attention. And lucky me, I became his favorite target. The first time he cornered me in the hallway, he commented on my shoes, saying they looked expensive. When I told him they were just regular shoes, he demanded I take them off, saying they'd look better on him. When I refused, that earned me my first beating. He didn't just hit me, he made sure to do it where teachers couldn't see, and he made sure it hurt. But that was just the beginning. Over the next few months, it got worse. Way worse. He'd wait for me before school, after school, sometimes even during lunch breaks. The physical stuff was bad enough: punches, kicks, shoving me into walls. But it was the other things that really got to me. He'd demand I empty my pockets, claiming whatever I had was now his. When I'd tell him I had nothing, he'd say that was the wrong answer. He'd take my lunch money, my books, anything of value I had on me. Some days he'd force me to do humiliating things just for his entertainment. One particularly bad morning he caught me on my way to school. He ordered me to get into an alley. When I pleaded that I was already late, he shouted at me to move immediately. He dragged me into the alley, started throwing punches, then he spotted something on the ground. Some disgusting mixture of mud and garbage. He taunted me, saying I looked hungry and ordering me to eat it. When I protested in shock, he threatened that the beating wouldn't stop unless I ate it. So I ate it. I ate it while he laughed. Then he took my backpack and my shoes, leaving me to walk to school looking like I'd been through a war zone. I tried getting help. I really did. When I told the guidance counselor about being beaten up almost every day, they just suggested I should stand up for myself and take some boxing classes. The school's response was always the same. Since most of it happened off campus, they claimed there wasn't much they could do. They suggested conflict resolution and avoiding confrontation. Real helpful stuff when you're getting your face pushed into the pavement. It all came to a head one morning after a particularly brutal encounter. I was walking to school feeling more hopeless than ever, and I just stepped into traffic. The bus stopped inches from me. That's when I realized I had two choices: either let this continue until I finally succeeded in getting myself killed, or do something about it. I got creative. It wasn't hard to score some weed. Even in the 90s, every school had that one kid who could get you whatever you needed. I made several small paper envelopes, filled them with the stuff, and added some loose cash to make it look legitimate. Then during lunch break, when the halls were empty, I slipped them through the slats of his locker. The anonymous tip to school security was the cherry on top. Within an hour, they had his locker open. The evidence was right there: multiple bags of marijuana, clearly packaged for sale, along with cash that made it look like he was running a business. He was hauled out of class in handcuffs, screaming his protests. He yelled about being set up and how they couldn't do this. The security guard just told him to save it for the police. The school didn't exactly conduct a thorough investigation. He had a reputation, not just with students, but with teachers too. Everyone had seen him terrorizing other kids, even if they couldn't prove it. So when the opportunity to get rid of him presented itself, they took it. He was expelled immediately. His good family apparently shipped him off to some military school across the country. Never saw or heard from him again. The hallways felt different after that. Lighter somehow. I wasn't the only one he'd terrorized, and while nobody ever found out what I did, I saw the relief on other kids' faces. They could finally walk to school without looking over their shoulders. Was it technically wrong what I did? Maybe. But when you're backed into a corner with no way out, sometimes you have to make your own justice. The system wasn't protecting us, wasn't protecting me, so I protected myself. And you know what? After everything he put me and others through, I slept just fine at night. After my divorce, I needed a fresh start. My ex-wife got the house in the settlement, and with housing prices skyrocketing, a rental townhome seemed like the best option. I'd spent 15 years as an electrician, and while the pay was good, I wasn't looking for anything fancy, just somewhere clean and well maintained where I could rebuild my life. The townhome complex I found was perfect. It was managed by a large property company, but they had an on-site superintendent's office for day-to-day operations. When I first moved in, this lovely retired couple ran the place. The husband handled maintenance while his wife managed the office. They treated everyone with respect, regardless of what they did for a living. One morning I went to the office to report a flickering outdoor light fixture near my front door. The wife was incredibly helpful, immediately offering to have her husband stop by that afternoon to fix it. I happily accepted their prompt assistance. That's how things worked for the first 3 years, but then the couple decided to fully retire and move closer to their grandkids. The company replaced them with two recent college graduates who clearly thought managing our lowly townhouse complex was beneath them. These guys were nightmares from day one. They'd throw loud parties in the office at night, ignore maintenance requests, and let the grounds go to hell. The way they looked down on us working folks was obvious. One day I submitted a maintenance request for a leaking faucet. The first manager barely looked up from his phone, dismissively telling me they'd get to it when they could, probably next week. When I pointed out that the lease required urgent repairs to be handled within 24 hours and mentioned the water waste, the second manager just snickered. He made a snide comment about how I should have gone to college instead of playing with pipes all day, suggesting then I could fix it myself. But their attitude wasn't what got them arrested. What did them in was their vendetta against my car. Like many residents, I paid extra for a covered parking spot. We got hang tags to show we'd paid, and cars without tags would get towed. I'd had the same car, same spot, and same tag for 4 years without issues. Then one morning my car was gone. The tow company said it was removed for not having a hang tag, but their own photos showed it clearly visible. It cost me $200 to get my car back. When I confronted the managers, their response was infuriating. The first one just smirked and claimed it was their bad, must have been a mistake. The second one brushed it off, saying these things happen. A week later, it happened again. Same excuse, another $200. This time I called corporate to complain. That's when things got really bad. My car started getting towed almost every day. When I confronted them about the obvious tag in my car, the first manager just laughed and suggested I should park somewhere else. I did some research and discovered something interesting. In our state, knowingly calling for an illegal tow is considered grand theft auto. Even better, we were in a one-party consent state for recording conversations. So I went to their office with my phone recording in my pocket. I tried to have a serious discussion about the tows, but they just mocked me. The first manager joked about my daily donations to the tow company, while the second one laughed and asked how that was working out for me. When I asked if they were doing this on purpose, they openly admitted it. The first manager said that while the first couple times were honest mistakes, after that they had been calling the tow company deliberately and would keep doing it until I learned my lesson. The second manager brazenly admitted they knew I had a valid tag but didn't care. When I pointed out this was illegal, the first manager just scoffed and challenged me to prove anything. I took the recording and the tow company's call logs to a lawyer friend. He helped me file a police report, and the cops were thrilled to have such an easy felony case dropped in their laps. The managers were arrested right in the office. The corporate office fired them immediately, refunded all my towing fees, over $2,000 by then, and gave me 6 months of discounted rent. Both of them ended up pleading guilty to multiple felony counts. They got probation instead of jail time, but their lives were effectively ruined. Their degrees became worthless since no company would hire convicted felons for management positions. Their student loans came due, and they couldn't pay them. The sweet irony? Last I heard, they both ended up working construction jobs, the very type of work they'd spent months mocking. Except now they were the lowest guys on the totem pole, taking orders from the same type of blue-collar losers they used to look down on. The corporate office hired a new superintendent, another retired couple who actually knew how to treat people with respect. And me? I still have the same parking spot, same hang tag, and not a single mistaken toe since. I never planned on working in retail. With a business degree fresh in hand, I had dreams of climbing the corporate ladder in some fancy office building. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, and the 2008 financial crisis left me, like many others, taking whatever job I could find. That's how I ended up at this supermarket in the heart of our city's busiest shopping district. Little did I know I'd spend 2.5 years there, basically running the place while my store manager collected the paycheck. Don't get me wrong, I learned a lot about management, just not in the way I expected. I was doing everything from staff scheduling to inventory management, handling vendor relationships, and even training new hires. Everything except getting the title or the pay that should have come with those responsibilities. The place was toxic, to put it mildly. 3 of our staff members had considered doing something rather unfortunate due to the stress. I won't go into details, but let's just say it wasn't good. Yet somehow I stuck around, probably because I kept telling myself it was temporary, just until something better came along. So there I was on my day off, having to come in because one of our freezer units decided to give up the ghost. After spending the morning doing an emergency order to replace all the spoiled stock, I decided to treat myself to lunch at this burger place up the street. You know, the one that claims their burgers are better than everyone else's. I was wearing a plain black polo shirt and black jeans, just casual clothes for my day off. I placed my order and sat down to wait. The place wasn't too busy, maybe 3 people waiting for their food and another 3 in line to order. That's when she walked in. I could tell right away she was going to be trouble. The way she stood there tapping her foot, huffing and puffing because she had to wait in line like a regular person. After about a minute, she spotted me and made a beeline for my table. She demanded to know why I wasn't up there taking orders. When I asked her to excuse me, she repeated her demand, saying I shouldn't be sitting around. I tried explaining that I didn't work there, but she wouldn't listen. She insisted that she saw me there all the time and ordered me to get up and take her order. I repeated that I didn't work there, but she accused me of being lazy and not wanting to work. When I questioned her statement about not wanting to work, she smugly told me that with that attitude I would never be more than a fast food employee. I raised my voice and told her again that it was my day off and that I didn't work there. Just then they called my order. I got up to grab my food, but Karen was like a shadow following right behind me. She complained that I was going to take even longer to take her order and called it ridiculous. I pointed out that there was no line if she wanted to place an order. She said she didn't care about the line and demanded that I take her order, threatening to get me fired. I firmly told her once again that I didn't work there, reminded her it was my day off, mentioned there was no line, and said I was leaving with my food to enjoy it somewhere, away from a rude, obnoxious person like her. She was outraged that I called her obnoxious. That's when she grabbed my drink and dumped it all over me. The manager came running out and we both told our sides of the story. He was actually pretty cool about it, replaced my drink and threw in some free fries. I decided to head back to work to eat in the break room just to avoid any more drama. That's when my phone rang. It was my store manager who had, as usual, left early to beat the traffic. He asked if I was still in the city. When I confirmed, he explained that he had left early and was nearly home, but just remembered he had a job interview lined up for that afternoon. When I asked what he wanted, he mentioned my experience with job interviews and asked if I could do it for him. I agreed and asked about the timing. He said the candidate should be there in a couple of minutes and that it was for a cashier role, so I would know what to ask. I went to the front counter and told the cashiers to send the interviewee to the manager's office when she arrived. I had just settled into the office when there was a knock on the door. And wouldn't you know it, in walks Karen, still with a few drops of my drink visible on her shoes. She immediately realized her situation and asked if she was going to get the job. I smiled, leaned back in my chair, and took a long, satisfying sip from my replacement drink. I told her that we should discuss her customer service skills, mentioning that I had a very interesting experience at lunch today. The look on her face was priceless as I recounted our earlier encounter in detail, making sure to note how her behavior demonstrated exactly why she wasn't suited for a customer service position. I even thanked her for providing such a perfect example of how not to treat customers. She left the interview room with her face as red as the uniform she'd hoped to wear, and I finally got to enjoy my lunch in peace. The best part? My store manager actually had to do some work for once because he had to schedule another round of interviews. I never thought I'd have such a terrifying experience at a summer camp. My parents had signed me up for this swimming program at our local pool, thinking it would be a great way for me to spend my summer break and get a swimming certification. They both worked full time and they wanted to make sure I wasn't just sitting at home playing video games all day. I was actually pretty excited about it. I loved swimming, and the idea of making new friends seemed cool. The program was supposed to be 2 weeks long, but everything went downhill during the first week because of this one counselor. He was this massive guy who looked like he spent every waking moment at the gym. The other kids started calling him the Beast behind his back, and trust me, it wasn't because he was nice. From day one, this guy was just awful. He'd sit there on his phone scrolling through social media, completely ignoring us unless someone happened to disturb his precious reading time. Then he'd explode like a volcano. The other counselors seemed scared of him too. They'd just look the other way whenever he started acting up. I made friends with this quiet kid on the first day. We bonded over our shared annoyance with another counselor who was also pretty bad, though nowhere near as terrible as the Beast. Looking back, we were so focused on complaining about the minor nuisance that we didn't see the real monster right in front of us. The Beast started showing his true colors right away. Anytime we kids would try to create something or come up with fun ideas, he'd literally destroy it with his fists. Sand castles, smashed, art projects, torn apart, group games, shut down. This went on for the first 2.5 days. Then came Wednesday. We were heading out for lunch like usual. 32 sweaty 11-year-olds, trudging toward the playground in the summer heat. That's when it happened. The Beast suddenly stopped my friend. He snapped his fingers and shouted at my friend to get his attention. When my friend nervously responded, the Beast started yelling at him, demanding if he knew what he'd done wrong. My friend was trembling and could barely stutter out a response. The Beast then screamed in his face that he hadn't walked in a straight single-file line. When my friend tried to defend himself, the Beast cut him off and started screaming that he couldn't talk back like that. He then declared that my friend was banned from ever swimming there again. Then he did something that still makes my blood boil. He slapped my friend so hard he fell to the ground. The Beast just walked away with this smug grin on his face like he'd just won some kind of prize. I helped my friend up and we went to the park. Later, when it was time to swim, my friend changed into his swim shorts, but the Beast showed up again to remind him about the ban. My friend started crying again. I snuck into the pool feeling horrible about leaving him behind. When I saw him later, he had a black eye. Friday was when everything came to a head. The Beast tried the same routine with me. Same exact words like he'd been practicing in front of a mirror. Luckily, another counselor stepped in before things got physical. But the worst was still to come. We were all swimming when I noticed the Beast sneaking up on my friend, who wasn't supposed to be in the pool according to the Beast's ban. The Beast demanded that my friend get out of the pool immediately. When my friend simply replied with a firm "no," that single word set him off. The Beast grabbed my friend and lifted him straight out of the water by his neck. My friend was gasping for air, kicking and struggling, when the Beast suddenly threw him against one of the concrete pillars by the pool. Everything after that was chaos. Kids were screaming, parents were running from the viewing area, and the pool staff called the police. One of the dads, who happened to be an off-duty police officer, tackled the Beast before he could hurt anyone else. It turns out this wasn't the Beast's first violent incident. The investigation revealed he had a history of aggressive behavior at previous jobs, which he'd managed to hide by moving between different cities. They found complaints filed against him at 2 other summer camps, but the cases had been settled quietly. The judge wasn't lenient. The beast got 5 years in prison, not just two. He was ordered to pay $50,000 in damages to my friend's family and received a lifetime ban from working with children anywhere in the state. He also had to undergo mandatory anger management therapy. Last I heard, he had to move several states away because no one would hire him once they did a background check. My friend, he's doing great now. His family used some of the settlement money to build a small pool in their backyard, and he actually became a certified swimming instructor a few years later. He says he wanted to show kids that swimming should be fun, not traumatic.